Hello everyone. Can someone confirm that you can hear me? Because today I'm using a new microphone. And as usual, we will give it a minute or two for some other people to join. And then we'll dig deeper. Okay, it's 3 past, so let's begin. Again, in case you don't hear me too well, I have new microphone, so please let me know if it's too loud or too quiet. And we'll have to say goodbye to our Pikachu guest. See you till next time. Yeah, and let's begin. Welcome to another live stream, Friday live stream. Today we have Omnibus title From Hype to Regret, Disappointing BLs. As in the description, it's not about hating, it's about talking which elements disappointed me in those particular mangas which you can see in front. And I can imagine that some of those, or at least one of those, could be a contender for a masterpiece title. So to some people it was a controversial topic to see it under this title. But I will explain to all of you why it's here. So the big part is the hype versus what's being delivered. And each of those has something different to talk about. But before we go into the main topic of the stream, I thought about something maybe interesting to everyone, since we talk a lot about recommendations, we talk a lot about manga, so I decided to go with the recommendation of the day. Let's see if you will like it. So currently I'm reading manhwa. It's a web, it's in the format of online comic. It's called Regas, R-E-G-A-S, Regas. It's a story set up in a fantasy world with dragons, with supernatural elements. The main two characters are Abel and Karas. Karas is the king. At the beginning of the story, Karas is a child basically, which is very hard to control. Everyone is kind of scared of him. And there's Abel, who was trained to be Regas, and Regas is a naming created for the purpose of this story. So who is Regas? Regas is the person who tends to the dragon, because the young prince, Karas, is a hybrid of a human and a dragon. The story goes, long time ago, there was a dragon who was, burning everything around, and at some point this Regas person tamed the dragon, and that's how story goes. At some point the dragon is a human, and they have like a special division dedicated for training people to be Regas, and What I really liked about this story at the beginning, and I still really enjoy it, but what was interesting to me when I started reading it, it was that Abel was very buffy, not, you know, feminine, pretty guy, but someone, let's call it strong, with big physique. Although I already knew that something is not right at this point of time, because the prince was very young at that point, basically a child, so he was more of a babysitter, not for a toddler, but for a young child, trying to tame, trying to connect with the king. So I won't go deeper into that. I highly recommend this title. It's still ongoing very strongly. There are 60 or 80 chapters plus. It's reaching the second hiatus, second break, before new season will be released. But yeah, English chapters are being released. There's also a novel. As I mentioned before, a lot of manhwas, Korean mangas, boilovs, are inspired or based on novels. So this is my recommendation of the day. Regas, Regas. Okay, so that's enough of the introduction to our today's stream. Let's dig deeper into the main topic, which is biggest disappointments. Let's start with the first one, which is Black Blood by Hayate Kuku. We have two main characters in here, Ethan and Mihail. Ethan is a cyborg, as you can see on the picture. And let's talk a little bit how I got interested into this story. So the first thing which hooked me on was the cover. It provides a very interesting dynamic and vibe, because you have a cyborg situation, and in this case it's not a robot, it's not a doll like with Hybrid Child. And why I'm mentioning this? I'm mentioning this because in the cyborg situation it means that it's artificially enhanced human. So at the beginning there was a human, and at some point more and more body parts were replaced with machine. And in case of Ethan, the only human part left is his brain. He's a veteran from war, so you can imagine that some things were happening, and he was, it's human anatomy, so nothing crazy in here, set up in space. So Ethan was damaged during the war, and most of his body parts were replaced with machine. What's also important to that element and the story is that everything he experienced is through artificial sensors. So all the stimulus are going through this mechanical layer. And why is that important? Because it can be very sensitive, so by default they tone down this kind of sensors, so they are not overstimulated. But going back to the plot point of this, so Ethan comes to some planet in space, which is being explored by scientists. He left the military and now he's working as a security officer. So he comes to this planet to protect the stuff. And our bottom guy on the left is the scientist who do the research on the planet, on biome, flora and fauna. he studies especially plants because the atmosphere is very unfriendly for humans. And they are trying to figure out like what could be useful, what they can take away from those plants, although they look similar to what we have on Earth, but they are on a molecular level very different. So those are the two characters, and this dynamic of, you know, space, about cyborg, which is not a very common trope, and how this is going to work out between, you know, full human made out of flesh and versus human fully like mostly made out of metal. So that hooked me up. But then I started reading the story, and it's not a horrible story. It's, I would say, overly sugar-coated story. The storyline is very cliche. Some plot points feel forced just for the purpose of drama. And at the end of manga, I feel like they rushed some explicit content, sexy time, spicy content between them, and I really don't like that, because I'm fine with a story without any explicit situations, but rushing in and pushing them at the end of the day as a bonus content or whatever, unless there's a second volume where they can build up on it. Because to me, this intimacy moment is not only about being close with each other, it's also some kind of plot point which can build a story, deepens the connection. And in here it's being rushed, which I really didn't like. And lastly, I think like the art inside wasn't to my liking. Although it's similar to what you have on the cover, I wasn't thrilled too much about that. So some sneak peek inside what's going on. So other officers, security officers, are also cyborgs. Some of them with more artificial parts, some of them with less. And obviously our top is protecting his lovely bottom in distress. So that's what it is. I would give this story 4 to 5 out of 10. Based on what I saw, maybe it will be better for you. If you are into sci-fi, space exploration, cyborgs, then by no means this could be a great piece for you. For me, it was not enough. Okay, if you have any questions, just in case, please don't hesitate to ask. I can always stop and provide more insight if you need it. What's also interesting, Lord Grimm edits. Do you have Berserk? I have Berserk. Also, I kept those sleeves which came with deluxe edition. I don't have a full series, but I have 7 volumes. This is the first volume, deluxe edition, so hardcover. It's even difficult to keep it in frame because it's very big and heavy. I watched some anime based on this story. My friend read this, I don't know what to call it, like manga. I guess you could call it manga in that sense. It's also a mature content because I was deciding to buy the volume 5, but why not the volume 1? Or did you read it online and then wanted to pick up on volume 5? Yeah, so this story-wise, it's very interesting. although it's again, I will use one of my favorite Reddit online, yeah, favorite phrases. It's a fever dream. It's a little bit delirious in that sense. It connects some, I would say, Knight's era with some biblical themes from Christian religion, demons, and things like that. A lot of explicit content, a lot of brutality, but overall it's one of the greatest stories out there when it comes to mangas. So if you are a story driven person, this could be a good recommendation. I didn't read too much of it. I'm still in front of that. I want to read more. And another interesting detail about this, I didn't read it, but I know so much about it. Funny thing. Another interesting part about Berserk is that the author, or OG original author, died. So he passed away, and I'm not sure if it was his son or someone from family. I think it's his son who took over the manga to finish it. So I'm not sure if it's finished yet, but there are plans to finish it. So, and it's another connection about finishing the series. Going back to our main topic, I totally forgot that I put Acid Town in here in this video. So I didn't prepare too much in terms of what was going on in the manga, but to make it like a very short, it's about Yuki, who is the guy in here. He's more of a bottom figure in manga. He lives on streets. He takes care of his sick brother. He was abused a lot. So a lot of situations like that. Prostitution. He's trying to survive. He's trying to support the hospital bills, his brother. Then he meets the second guy, who is Yakuza-san. And based on that story progress. And I enjoyed the manga. It's a very old one. I read it many years ago. And what I didn't like in this one, so in the previous one, it was overly sugar-coated storyline, rushed explicit scenes, and story not delivering what I was expecting. In this one, story-wise, it is good. The bigger problem to me is that it was dropped. Print was dropped, so there are only 6 volumes out there by Tokyo Pop, if I'm correct. Yes, Tokyo Pop printed out only 6 of them. And also, what I mentioned during last stream, sometimes when you wait for new chapters, you lose the motivation, the drive to keep on going with manga, although it's very beloved by someone or by you. And this was the case with this one. Like a little bit with Junjo Romantica or other like Finder, long-running series that you are up to date. They are released sometimes every month, a chapter, sometimes every 3 months. Good example is also The Gray Man. It's also very good manga. I was really hyped about that one, but it was released so rarely that I lost the drive. Okay, number 1 Yaoi manga fan. Do you have Black and White? I got the first book 3 days ago. Yes, I have Black and White. I have 10 volumes at the moment. I believe 11. Okay. I don't want to say more about that because there will be unboxing live stream next week. where maybe it will show up the next volume. Yes, I have it. I read half of it. I would recommend it. It's a standard story, not something innovative, but it's well written. The dynamic between characters is nice. They look very pleasant to the eye, so all of those things check. Do you have anything else you would like to ask about this one? Did you order volume 1, or like our previous like previous person from chat, like you continue with where you left off online, or this is your first time encountering this title? Yeah, there's a little delay from the chat, so I'll keep on going, and if there will be some answer, I will go back. So with Acid Town, let me show you some samples. So this is how the first volume look like. Older teen, age 16 plus, so it's a little bit less stimulating in that aspect. So here you have the brother in hospital, you have Yuki, who is taking care, and this Yakuza-san, they will provide some financial support for him. Yeah, so this is how the volume 1 looks like. Then moving on to volume 2, and they will grow over time, so you will see the development when it comes to characters, because as you can see, they are very young and the dynamic is changing, love interests are changing in that sense, so it's pretty dynamic. So you can see already in volume 4 Yuki is much older, or matured in terms of the body. Volume 5, I think this cover is one of my favorite. It's the color scheme speaks to me. And then we have volume 6, also a pretty one with flowers. I like flowers. Number 1 Yaoi manga fan. Do you have an Yaoi recommendation? Because I don't know if I should get Secret XXX or something else. At the beginning I gave the recommendation of the day, and my recommendation of the day actually for manhwa, so Korean format, was Regas. This is something I would recommend, although it's only available online, no in-print situation option. When you speak about Secret XXX, I don't think I know this one. Maybe I have it because this XXX rings a bell, but I don't think I have it. So if you are looking for something online, then Regas, go for it, it's really good. When it comes to in-print volumes, so each time we provide some recommendations, I would say this one, well, I didn't speak about this one on stream, Wild Roses and Pretenders. It's 2 volumes, so this is the volume 1. And again, high society setup, aristocrats in that sense. It's 18 plus, because I also like to mention what you can expect in terms of spiciness inside. I enjoyed the main characters, although bottom is sometimes a little bit irritating. I'm not into stupid or helpless people, so it doesn't mean if it's a top, bottom or whatever. I prefer when they can handle themselves. so you can see a little bit of action. So this is the volume 1. Wild Roses and Pretenders. So this lord, the black-haired guy, is obviously the aristocrat. Because of some personal dynamic, he gets involved with the bottom guy, and at the beginning they pretend they are in a relationship. So again, a common theme, but then it develops into real love. This is the volume 2. I really enjoy the color scheme in here. And it's finished, so it's only 2 volumes. Only, or sometimes there are only one shots. Let me look for something interesting to show. So you can have a better feeling of, oh, this is something nice to show to all of you. So Noah, so the bottom guy is called Noah. Yeah, so the art style is something I enjoy in this one. Also, another recommendation, very quickly, could be Stay By My Side After Rain. Very heartwarming story. It's not a mature content, so something more acceptable for a bigger audience. There are 4 volumes at the moment. It's still going strong, but I won't go into plot point at the moment. Let's go back to our main topic regarding disappointments. So we have 3 more titles in front of us. Again, if you have any questions, please free to ask. Please like, subscribe and comment, it helps a lot. But going back to the feisty Omega and his twin mates. So it's a twin situation in here. 2 alphas, 2 tops, and 1 omega, 1 bottom. Why did I pick it up? Oh, I forgot about the rating. With Acid Town, I would give it, I would say something 5 out of 10. So very similar to Black Blood, the cyborg story. Then moving to the feisty Omega and his twin mates. Why did I pick it up? Art style is kinda okay to me, not over the top. I'm still into Omegaverse a lot. There will be a dedicated live stream regarding what is Omegaverse, where it came from, how I first started with it. Maybe small sneak peek. My beginning with Omegaverse was with Love is an Illusion, and I have all of them, 7 volumes. So this was my first introduction to Omegaverse, and I was really thrilled about this new trope, new type of story. And this is also an Omegaverse. What's an Omegaverse? In Omegaverse, there are 3 types of people: alphas, betas, omegas. It can sound a little bit cringy when you explain that. So you can have female and male alpha, female and male omega, and female and male beta. Most of the population is are betas, even though those in the middle of the pyramid. And then on top of society, extremely skilled, great physique, great genes are alphas. And then we have omegas, who are usually dumb, usually helpless, breeding machines, as they like to call them, because of the system where omegas can get pregnant. and it can be male and female. So with female, it's not so hard to explain why they can get pregnant, but with males, let's say they have additional hole inside a hole, which can be used for getting pregnant. So there's no extra hole on the outside, it's extra hole in the inside. Yeah, and it's something interesting. The dynamic is interesting to me because it's more about, it's possible to achieve in a real world when you have like surrogacy, an external, not insemination, but external fertilization of you know, the cells. So you can have a blood-related children in, let's call it, homosexual couples, but in here it's more of a like natural process in all of that, and you also experience the whole pregnancy process. So this was very interesting how it looked like from that point of view. And also, yeah, but let's not go too much because I could talk about this. So going back to the story, so you can see where it's going. So I purchased it based on a hype from Omegaverse, and then I started reading it. So those twins, those alphas, are quite young, extremely successful, extremely influential, like typical setup for usually for a top guy or top guys in this case, where they can do anything and everyone is scared of them, or they are very influential. And then we have Omega. In this case, it seems like he's not extremely helpless, which usually is the trope where prince come in and save the princess. That's not the case in here. In here, the Omega, the bottom guy, is presented as someone very competent, as someone who is very skilled. He has a job. He works as a secretary, personal secretary, like you could call it vice president secretary, something like that. And he is doing his job very well. And then at some point, heat comes in. So this is another thing for Omegaverse, which is important. So Omegas go in heats, alphas go in wrath. So basically, with animals, like with dogs, the easiest explanation, they are then, you know, they want to reproduce, basically, and become driven by lust. With alphas, they want to mate with or make Omegas theirs. They can bite them on their nape, and then they become connected because Omegas and alphas release pheromones. Depending on the story, those pheromones or the connection or pregnancy can be a little bit different, so I won't go into details at the moment. But the Omega guy goes into a heat, and it's our helpless princess situation. Some alpha guys started hitting on him. He is helpless because of pheromones, because of this condition coming in, and then at some point, two princes come in to save their princess. And it's very irritating to me because on one hand, they emphasize on how competent the Omega guy is, and there are inhibitors which you can use to stop the heat or reduce it. So there are ways to control it, especially in this setup. It's not a setup where there are no drugs to help that. There are, but have you read Jinx? Is this a polybial? Polybial? What does it mean by polybial? San Yukta. I read Jinx. I stopped reading it. I don't enjoy it too much. It's a typical, again, story where you have abuser and the abused falls in love because the plot demands that. Polygamy. Omega and his twin mates, yes, because it's a triangle. So in that case, yes. Suppressants, it's a drug which you take when your heat is coming in this universe, so it stops it for alphas and omegas. So it suppresses the reaction. So there's the whole build-up of this world, and we'll have a separate live stream. I try to provide just enough information so you can get a better feeling of what's going on. And what I wanted also to mention when it comes to triangles, I have this saying which I share with people: more than two people in a bed is a crowd. And I don't like crowd, so I don't like crowd situations. But in this case, it was brothers, so the perception was okay. So you can count them as a one person because it's a family. But then we introduce this family dynamic, even if they don't touch each other, because you can imagine there are two holes, so two sides of the coin. I still don't enjoy that. Like, I'm not super crazy. But again, I was hyped by Omegaverse troop, and I wanted to purchase what was available with this type of story. And again, there's more and more of them in print, but those were collected over the years. Some of them are more recent, some of them are older. So I purchased this when I was on this hype of Omegaverse. I know, right? I can't with these things. The assault troop just doesn't do it for me. Yeah, and it's also a little similar with this Omegaverse. It's very common situation when even like the alpha guy forces himself on Omega, and they end up in love. Although it's not healthy what's going on in there, but whatever. And Jinx is pushing this to extreme. Like, redemption arc and so on. I don't like it. I really don't like it. Like, I would say, like, I was like, girl, what you are doing, like, run away. Like, there are other options. There are other options, but they try to trap those characters in a way that there is no other option, or make them extremely dumb. So in one setup, they are very skilled in... Oh, my phone tilted. Not sure why. 1 second. Oh, battery died. That's a problem. 1 second. So we are having technical difficulties. 1 second. Let me bring the charger, because the gimbal which keeps camera straight died, run out of power. So I need to bring a charger. Give me a second. Yeah, I didn't use it as extensively before, so I wasn't aware that I could run out of power like this. But here we are. And with the Jinx, going back to the Jinx, so I really don't like that. On one hand, he's really good, there are options, but then no, he has to stay, he has to endure the abuse, and then we have a happy ending. No. You need some self-respect. Okay, so I have the cable, and let's hope so it will go. It will work as intended. Where is the charging port here? Okay, it's not turning on. So it's charging, but it's not turning on while being charged. Lovely. That's a lovely situation. Let me think about some other option to handle it. Maybe. Okay, let's keep it like that. I will readjust a little bit. It will be a little bit tilted, so sorry for that, but we have to do the best with what we have. There are some new comments. So BJ Alex, maybe let me check on computer because there are more what I can see on the phone. BJ Alex, have you read it? It's really good. Yes, I did. I enjoyed it. And there's a lot of angst in there, similar to Jinx, but it's not such an abusive story. So I could endure it in much better way. So I would recommend it as a read. There are some in-print options, although they are quite expensive, because if I'm correct, they were not, BJ Alex was not released by, let's say, big publishing company like Yen Press, 7th Entertainment. It was done more locally, let's call it like that, because I wanted to buy it, but still hesitate because of the price. And then the next comment. So have you read Seaside Stranger? The anime adaptation was pretty good, but I never would have thought Shan would be the uke. Yeah, I was researching the namings for top and bottoms, researching, like checking some facts, because in Japan you use often a term neko, cat, for bottom, and I didn't remember what they used for top, because as you can see I use a lot of top and bottom dynamic, because I don't remember all the characters' names at this point. So in Japanese it's tachi, and it just translates to top. Okay, going back to comments. So, Seaside Stranger, I did not read it. I have it. I have all the volumes. How many of them there are? There are 6 of them. I have all of them. I saw some glimpses of anime, and it was good. It looked good, especially though those intimate moments, not sexual content, but the intimacy, the connection was really good. I really enjoyed it. So I will watch it, read it at some point. Then going back to some comments, I got traumatized with Killing Stalking. I have Killing Stalking. I have all of the volumes. So maybe let me show you the, maybe not show, but the cover of volume 8, deluxe edition by 7th Entertainment. Yes, and I was traumatized. It's a very conflicting story, because it's a story about abuse, gore, murder, trauma, and so on and so on. But because the story was good in a sense, we as the readers, I as a reader, am conflicted by those feelings. I understand what's happening. I see that maybe that's not the healthiest relationship, but then because of how good the story is, visuals, I'm conflicted at the end of the day that they should have a happy ending. San Yukta. The Lotus and the Lost has a similar trope, but the bottom kind of flips the switch. It's redemption and yearning with pregnancy trope. Lotus. This is the Lotus. The one is with the dragon. I think it's the one with the dragon and the dragon baby. I'm not sure, but I think I heard about this one. Mingwa, Yukta. This is the animation, I think. Anime, BL Korean anime, made by private studio, private person. I figured out that out for Yarichi Beach Club. We talked about Yarichi Beach Club last time. And it's funny thing that this pops up in here, because when I was thinking how to present the mangas on the shelf, like the topic for today, some of those, well, maybe let's finish first with this Feisty Omega and wrap this one up. So I didn't like it because of the troop, not the troop, but the storyline. I didn't like how they made the character helpless. On one side, he was very confident, competent person, but then on the other side, it was such a easy way for an author to trap him in this dynamic and this situation, and I didn't like that. And why it's painful for me? Because this manga is ongoing. There is a second volume and there's a third volume on the way. And I won't be continuing this one. I will give it 3 out of 10. So by far the worst mark. And connecting this to Yaoi Beach Club, I was thinking, okay, I said that I don't enjoy the manga last time, but I would give Yaoi Beach Club 5 out of 10, while this one gets 3 out of 10. So it's not about, me disliking something. I try to look objectively at the topic and based on that give the verdict. So that's how this one looks like. So you have the picture in here. Takahina, Yuya and Tomoya. So, the dynamic between this kind of couple, triple, however you call it, can be interesting. And that was one of the things why it made me also purchase it. And obviously the first page, what we are seeing, it's lady in distress going in heat being assaulted by some guy. And then what happens? Princes come in and save the princess. So, girl, please. There are other better ways to make it good. Okay, so now we have 2 more mangas left. And I can dive a little deeper into comments back. So those shows, yep, Russian. Painter of the Night is a classic. Have you read it? It's pretty good. Painter of the Night. It's behind in here. You can see it very vaguely. First volume. I read most of the Painter of the Night. Again, abusive story, very similar to Jinx in that aspect. And what I didn't like in the Feisty Omega story, helpless bottom, naive, stupid. Of course, they can start as like that, but they should learn at some point, and there's no learning curve. So I dropped it very deep into the story because, again, I wasn't thrilled with the storyline, but I was reading it and then it was being released. I had to wait and I dropped it at that point. So I didn't keep up with the story. Then we have, I personally hated Killing Stalking, made me cry my eyes out. But did you hate it? At the end of the day, it made you very conflicted. And you can also lean into those tragic emotions like pain and depression and sadness. They can be beautiful in their own aspect, although it's not easy to sleep after this kind of story. So I get what you mean. The one with the dragon, yes. So I'm reading it. Story is nice. The over-sexualized content, not so great. Don't get me wrong, I like some action when it's done properly. And for some people it's an escape in a sense that it's get very anatomically incorrect or crazy, and I get that. I'm not so crazy about this. I prefer this to be a little closer to reality. And as I mentioned before, I will do a live stream / video, more of a video, called Does Size Matter? Anatomy of BL. And during last stream, many people pointed out that maybe I should create a Patreon so I can show a little more of those explicit scenes, because on live stream it's a no-go. As you can see, sometimes I avoid some specific words or bite my tongue while I say them, because we are not doing anything wrong. It's just to be careful with YouTube algorithm. It won't understand, but it will flag the channel, then they will block the channel, I will have to appeal, they will remove the block. I told you all the story last time that a week or 2 weeks ago channel was removed because some automatic system flagged the channel, then they restored it. And we don't want that. We prefer not to risk. And I researched this a little bit and found out that Patreon is really an option. So I'm working on Patreon, not to get rich with it, by no means. Although any support is nice. And why I'm saying about money element, it's because you have to put it behind paywall, mature content, and by mature, showing intercourse scenes from manga, for example. And if we talk about Does Size Matter, I want to use some examples. So I have to show some kind examples from manga. Not all manga, but some examples. So it has to be behind the paywall, otherwise Patreon will block the account. So that's how it looks like. I'll share more information about that in the future. It's not my top priority, but it's something to explore. Okay, then moving back to comments. I genuinely love Yaoi Beach Club. I shipped Yuri and Jimmy so much. And good for you. Like, I understand why you like it. It's not similar to Jinx. The redemption arc is beautiful. I hate abusive stories, but the way Sengyo changes at the end, it's a masterpiece. But does it erase the abuse, initial abuse? It's a question which we have to ask ourselves at the end of the day. The anatomy kind of freaks me out. Yeah, and as I mentioned again before, the anatomy aspect with Korean mangas is especially wild. And also how it's happening. So in this video I also want to touch a little bit how does it work, because it's a pure fiction. How does it work in most of those cases? Yeah. So going back to two last titles, we have Guardians of the Far Frontier, book sleeve format. So the cover is not so crazy, but the book sleeve looks nice. So this is the front, this is the back. So very quickly about the story. Maybe I will also share some kind of to give you an idea how does it look like. But the story goes like this. Let's say we have a fortress at the border of the country, and we have a group of people who protect country borders or this specific place from monsters and some bypassers. And some of you maybe read Black Clover, and there's a guild called Black Bulls. So it's a similar vibe when it comes to this group of people. So rejects, although exceptional in their own way. So they have some skills which make them very exceptional, but because of different circumstances, they were rejected by society, their families, and so on. So you have two main characters in here. The aristocrat guy, the top guy, is a knight, so he fights with a sword, and the guy at the bottom is a mage. And again, both of them are very skilled at what they do. So you can see a wand. He holds it, and he's an exceptional wizard. But for some reasons, he was sent or went to this fortress, and the same goes for the aristocrat guy. So the story circles around why they end up there. So the blonde guy is trying to figure out how this person end up in there, and likewise the wizard is trying to find out what happened on the other side. Why I didn't enjoy the story? Very similar case to the first one. Starting from the ending, spicy scenes were rushed. They were put in there just to check mark situation instead of using this as a plot point. So I didn't like that. The story wasn't, again, anything crazy. I know I say this often, but there are details to that. And what I mean by this. So the wizard situation is a little bit of abuse from superior who was kinda into him. So again, very common trope, although most of them are common. The problem starts when the author is not able to deliver the punchline in the proper way. You lose interest, you lose focus, and this is what's happening in here when it comes to both characters. When it comes to aristocrat guy, he did something to protect his family, and they banished him because of that, because it was not honorable, blah 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 blah. And the whole story about that was woven in the main story in not such a great way. So very vague from my side, but I had really high hopes for this one. I really enjoy the art. I really enjoy how they look like. So they have the type I like. But the story at the end of the day did not deliver. This one would receive from me 6 out of 10. So again, not such a terrible score, but I was hyped, and then when I read it, I was disappointed. If there would be another volume, that could change everything. And that changes everything for our last title, which is The Summer Hikaru Died. Yoshiki and Hikaru. Let me check quickly comments. So welcome anyone new. If you have any comments, please say so. Gomez Orellana 5922. Hello. If some of you are more frequent visitors, then I will learn your names I'm much better during next streams. So welcome, welcome. Joy N8N, hello. If you have any questions, please ask so. And yeah, we dive into the last story, which is a candidate for a masterpiece. So before we go into the plot, before we go into what I liked, what I didn't like, I will share my score with you. So I would give this one 8.5 out of 10 or even 9 out of 10. This one is the contender for like 10 out of 10 story for me, because again I was thinking while preparing, what is a 1 for me? If someone asks me which manga is 1 out of 10 and which one is 10 out of 10, so I don't have an answer at the moment for that, for different reasons, because it's nitpicking when it comes to 10 out of 10 or 1 out of 10. But Hikaru is their top percentage of best stories I read over the years. There is another comment. BL Yaoi, not my cup of tea. You guys enjoy. See ya. Yeah, have fun. Maybe next time. So going back to the story, it's a very popular one. There is an anime on Netflix available, so it made this manga much more popular. Anime is very good. Story-wise, I really enjoy it. So let's maybe focus on what, maybe before we go on and talk about what's not working, let's talk about a story for those who are not, who never heard about this one. So on the cover page you can see Hikaru. He's a boy from small town. He has a friend called Yoshiki. You saw him on the back cover. Let me show you him. So this is Yoshiki. They are childhood friends. And Yoshiki is more or less gay. So he is in love with Hikaru, but for obvious reasons, small town folks, he's, afraid to talk about this, to admit the feelings. He keeps it inside. So that's the dynamic. But what happens next? Like first few pages are dedicated to interaction between Yoshiki and Hikaru in front of a shop where they share some drinks and ice cream, which is a very common theme for Japanese mangas. So they talk with each other, and then Yoshiki, the black-haired guy, becomes suspicious about Hikaru. Like something is not clicking, something is different. And they have this conversation, and Yoshiki says to Hikaru, like, you are not real Hikaru. And then we have this sci-fi scene where Hikaru's face starts to melt, and he begs Yoshiki not to tell anyone that, something is wrong, that it's not him, that it's some kind of entity occupying Hikaru's body. Okay, Hikaru, nice to meet you. So, and this is where the story progresses. So this is the introduction to the story. So very interesting plot point, as you can imagine. What will happen next? Mystery, horror. But at the beginning, this manga was labeled as BL. Maybe not so much Yaoi. First live stream I explained the difference. But by BL we mean boys love. So it doesn't have to be explicit, just romantic feelings between each other. And this was also something what hyped me for this manga, because I enjoy BLs. I don't read, for example, Yuri manga, because that's not something I'm so hyped about. I was hyped about boys' love with connection to this mysterious story. I wanted more. And we have more over the next volumes, but not BL, no boys' love. It's not driven by boys' love plot. It's driven more by horror, by mystery, sci-fi tropes instead of BL. And I call it like they teased us about this trope inside here, and now they are kinda denying it. And there's a huge war on the internet. Is it BL? Is it what? And there is a tweet from the author stating that this is a queer story. And what does it mean? So there are elements of LGBT tropes in there, but it's not being driven by that. When you dive deeper, there's a lot of metaphors which connects to queer people life. And what I mean by that, this situation with Hikaru and this entity in him, because Hikaru basically passed away at some point, then this entity got inside, have all the memories and everything, and is trying to find himself in this world. And it's some kind of metaphor how, you know, queer people discover themselves, how they struggle to adapt, and they have different challenges. And I would say most readers won't even notice this aspect of the story because, let's be honest, most people consume the story straightforward. They don't think about second meaning. And there's a lot of second meanings in there. So if you didn't catch them, you can try to Google some topics, or you can reread it and see it from a different point of view, because I wasn't also seeing too many of them when I started to read or exploring the story from author point of view. It opened my eyes to different perspectives. And why is that? Why I didn't see it as clearly before? Because when the story is good, you forget about those details if they are not extremely straightforward. So the story is very good. But now moving to why it's not 10 out of 10, why I put it as a disappointment. Basically because we were clickbaited that this is BL, and it did not deliver. They started to diminish, to back off from this trope, at least in my opinion. Maybe to appeal to a bigger audience. The manga became very popular. There was this anime adaptation, and I don't know, I'm not sure if this is the main reason, but there are signals that they are in love or there's some kind of connection, but then people flip it around that, oh, this is not a real Hikaru, or this is not love as love, but some kind of attachment and blah 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 blah. So it's very ambiguous, and I don't like this in this story, especially when the first, let's say, 2 volumes build around this BL trope, and then they back off from it or mitigate this in the long run to create more confusion. So that's the reason why I put this on this list, why I talk about this. So that would be it for the Summer Hikaru Died. Let's take a look at covers. They're very colorful. So again, Hikaru and Yoshiki. Hikaru when he was a child. Then we have the main protagonist friend, like classmates basically. It's being released by Yen Press. There are also novels available with beautiful covers. I think 2 volumes are released to this date. Also another interesting topic or information, you can read it online for free from official source. It's being released, I don't know, weekly, monthly or bi-weekly, but you can read it for a week or few days after the release for free from a legal source. So it's not, you know, stealing or whatever. It's legit source which allows you to consume the manga without any fees. And some people are unable to afford that, so it's an option to read it. You would have to Google to find out which website it is, but again, it's an official web. Maybe it's even Yen Press website. Not entirely sure. Okay, so I ran out of topics for today because I have many topics to talk about, but just for today. That was the last one, 9.5, 9 out of 10. Do you have any other questions? Do you want to add something? Let me quickly check if I didn't forget about anything. We'll wait a few minutes before we finish, although the audience is not as big as usual, so we can wrap up a little quicker. So to summarize, recommendation of the day, Regas from my side. Then there will be Patreon in the near future for, let's say, 18 plus content when it comes to reviewing mangas. And hype doesn't always mean it will be a good story. Sometimes it can disappoint you for different reasons. Please share your perspective on the topic in the comments when this video will be released, and tell me what was your disappointment at the end of the day. Okay, I'll be finishing, I'll be wrapping up. We have a next stream scheduled next week, so if you are curious what kind of new mangas came in from Amazon, then you can subscribe to notification to the specific event. If you go to live events, a tap on my account, you'll be able to see what's coming in the future, and you can press the bell. It will notify you before the live stream happens. Okay. Yeah, that's a wrap. So thank you all, and I wish you all the great rest of the day. Bye bye.